Hi everyone, happy Friday. I have a little selection of flutes from our website that I'm gonna demo for you, and I will link all of the flutes in the description below. So if you see one or hear one that you just love the sound of, you should head down to that description, click the link, and that'll take you to the page where you can see more photos. I take close-up photos of the flutes, and I have a longer format video of just this flute being played, as well as a written description about the flute. And you can buy it if it's something that resonates with you. So thanks for watching, and make sure to leave a comment and like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. I thought I'd shoot a quick flute comparison video to just show off some of the beautiful flutes that we have on the website right now. I have an A, a G, F sharp, and one of our D flutes, as well as one of our high jazz flutes to show to you today. This beautiful A is made out of western red cedar, and it has a iron stain applied to darken the wood. So originally this flute would have been kind of the color of the outside of the block here. The block is also made out of cedar. But you can still see that beautiful grain pattern through the stain. This is a non-toxic stain that we use. It has a really beautiful resonant quality to it, and just sort of a mellow tone to the voice. Really, really nice to play. I've got a beautiful hemlock flute here. Hemlock is quickly becoming one of my favorite woods for flutes. There's sort of a special quality to the way that it makes the flute sound that I really like. This is in the key of G. Yeah, so hemlock just has that, it's kind of a blonde colored wood, but it has a really striking grain pattern. It kind of reminds me of Douglas fir, but a little bit more blonde. Really like the decoration I put on this one. These are made with cotton embroidery thread that I do a whipping and twist the threads and make the decoration on there. Used a thread that had a nice gradient in it on this one. Has a really nice sound. G is a really great key for anyone really, but people who are just starting out can usually play this. I'll compare to the A. These are the two keys that I often recommend for people to start out with, and the reason is that if you line the mouth ends up here, you can see how the fingering holes are quite different. So the A is easier to play than the G, but most people can still comfortably play the G flute. As flutes get lower in pitch, they get larger and the fingering holes move further down on the flute. So lower flutes tend to be harder to play than higher pitched flutes. This one's a real beauty. This is figured maple. It's I would call that tiger maple, actually. There's a lot of different terminology for what you call maple based on the grain pattern. So tiger means, what do you think? Tiger stripes. They're super tight. Sometimes maple has a more quilted pattern to it, kind of big, wavy grain pattern, but this is not just figured, it's also spalted, which means that at some point when this was sitting outside, fungus got into the wood and started to decay the wood. It didn't get very far along in the process, so the wood is actually still just about as hard as it ever was, but you can see all these beautiful lines of color running through the wood. That is all caused by fungus. And I'm obsessed. This is actually a really colorful flute, and I don't know if you can really see in the picture or in the video, but maple is often just a very white color, and this has a lot of depth of color. So this is F sharp, a little bit bigger than the G and a little bit bigger than the A. Has a really clear voice because this is such a hard wood. Hardwoods have a tendency to have a brighter, clearer voice, and softwoods, like the other two flutes that I just played, tend to have a more mellow, a little bit more of a smoky quality to the voice. And there isn't one that's necessarily better than the other. It's just whatever you like the sound of best. I have some customers that want really kind of breathy, smoky sounding flutes, and other customers that want a really crisp voice. So sound is just something that appeals to certain people, and different qualities appeal to different people. This is another cedar flute, so it's the same wood as this flute, but without a stain. Cedar comes in a lot of different shades. This is a D. So it's a big flute. I would recommend this for people that have a little bit of flute playing experience already. It can be kind of hard to reach the fingering holes. It's an 1 1/8" bore diameter, so it's a little bit bigger around than the other flutes that I played. And this one in particular, when I was decorating them at home, I had them laid out just for a minute. I stepped away and my dog stepped across the whole pile of flutes and dragged a claw across this one, so it has a little bit of a, I don't know if you can even see it. There's just a little tiny faint scratch on the flute, like a dent in the flute. There it is. Vera, what a bad dog. She doesn't know how to be careful. But this is, cedar is such a nice wood for these big low flutes, and I really like this one. So this one really has a resonant feeling that you can feel in the body of the flute as you're playing. It's like a vibration that you can feel in your hands. and kind of in your chest as you're playing. It's really, really nice to play. D is probably my favorite key of flute just because they're so nice sounding and they're really easy. Like as far as a deep sounding flute, this is one of the easier ones to play because it still has pretty reachable fingering holes. Keep in mind I have hands that are very used to playing the flute, so it doesn't feel like a stretch to me. It doesn't cause me any kind of pain. The lower 3 fingering holes are further apart than the upper ones, but we do try to cluster the fingering holes so that they're easier to play. So that's a key to keep in mind if you don't have one yet. I really recommend it. And ooh, this is one of our high jazz flutes, and this one in particular has, it's made out of hemlock, and then we did a hibiscus flower stain and then a turmeric stain over the top. So it has kind of an orange color, almost fiery looking. Really catch it in the light. We were really just experimenting around with some of these natural stains because it's fun and sometimes we get to have fun in the shop. But I really like how this turned out. Let me know in the comments what you think. Turmeric stains everything. If you've ever cooked with turmeric, you'd probably know that. It stains your hands, your countertop, everything. So I was like, I wonder if that would stain flutes. And it turns out it does. It stains flutes pretty well. Yeah, that stain was put on before the varnish, obviously, but it's held up really well. I haven't noticed any fading at all, so it's a beautiful stain. So the high jazz flutes are harder to play. I don't recommend these for beginners, but they have a totally different tuning. So the other flutes are tuned to what's called a pentatonic minor scale, and the high jazz are tuned to a high jazz scale. So it's kind of a Hebrew sounding scale, something you'd hear in Hebrew music or Arabic music. Some people call these Arabic flutes, or sometimes they're called Middle Eastern flutes, and those are all the same, probably all the same tuning, which is called the high jazz tuning. This is in the key of A, and as you can see, there's this fingering hole down here that's pretty hard to reach. Some people, I think, play it with a pinky. For me, it's so awkward to try to cover a fingering hole with a pinky that I prefer to just stretch my finger down there, but it's fine to play it however is the most comfortable for your hands. And yeah, that hole has to be all the way down there. So unfortunately we couldn't put it up here because it would be a different note if we moved it up on the flute. But these have such a cool sound. Let me know what you think. I really like these. I think sometimes people that have a big collection of flutes, they're like, well, they're all tuned pentatonic minor, and it's really fun to have one that just plays a different scale. You can play a high jazz scale on a pentatonic minor flute, but it requires some special fingering and stuff. And I just love the way these sound. I think that they have kind of a different voice to them as well. Yeah, so that's my little collection of flutes for the day. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm going to link all of these in the description. They're all available on our website, so if you hear one that you just love, head over to the website and buy it or look at more pictures. They all have about 6 or 7 pictures and then another video of just the one flute being played. And yeah, lots of information too. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks.